We are in Parashat Bo, where we're finally leaving Mitzraim, and a very big and auspicious time, where there was a very big build-up. The last couple of parashot, how we go to Mitzraim, we become slaves, all the plagues, Moshe Rabbeinu coming, miracles. This is one of the most highest moments of our history, leaving Mitzrayim. From there we're going to Har Sinai to get the Torah. Up until today, almost in any occasion that we have, we commemorate the leaving of Mitzrayim. How many brachot we say every day? Zecher Letziat Mitzrayim, to remember that we left Egypt. Shema Israel, that we remember that we left Mitzrayim. When we do Kiddush, you can kind of say, look at everything that we do. Everything we have this memory of going out of Mitzrayim. So needless to say, this is a very auspicious and powerful moment of our history. And this week is this what we reading about. But then comes this one little detail that is kind of throwing us off and making us look not so good as a nation, that up until today we have this problem, that as we're leaving Mitzrayim, we are conning the Egyptians for their money. And the Torah states very loud that we have to take their money and run. That doesn't make us look so good up until today. 3,500 years pass, and if you want to kind of picture what the world is looking at us as, that we are money hungry. The Jews and the money and the money and the Jews, and it's all about the money, and the Jews own everything and they love money, and that's what people think about us. And really, when you kind of looking at the details, yeah, Jews do love money. I mean, who doesn't? But nevertheless, you can also see that the money loves the Jews. If you're looking at the 20th most richest people in the United States, 5 of them are Jews. That's 25% of the most richest people in America, when we are a fraction of the amount of people in the world. You're looking at the Forbes 500 lists, how many Jews are on there? So obviously the money also loves the Jews. If you're looking at ratio, how many are we in the world and how many of us are actually wealthy? The Jews always look like they're money hungry. You look at all the caricatures about the average Jew is a Jew with a long nose counting money. I mean, that's how we look to the world, that we're after the money. Up until today, people are saying the Jews are money hungry, they're after the money, they're after control. So in this parasha, we see that we have an issue. We are going out of Mitzrayim, and it seems like, such an auspicious moment, and that's what you care about now? You care about the money? You're taking money now? That's what the parasha is showing us? But what is this parasha trying to tell us? Something obviously is here for us to learn, something very fundamental. Because we see that Hashem is kind of like creating a situation by the fact that we have to take money from the Egyptians and run away, knowing we're not coming back. Hashem is kind of opening like a situation that we're going to have an issue with money for the rest of our life as a nation. Why is Hashem doing such a thing? This begs a lot of questions. Now, not only did we ask this question, many of the commentaries throughout all generations are asking the same question. Why dafka the money? Hashem doesn't have any other creative way to get us money, that we have to go and borrow, so to say, the money, saying to them we're going for just for a few days, we're just borrowing. You know how it kind of sounds? Like a woman going to an event and she doesn't have nice jewelry. She goes to her friend, can I borrow a few nice necklaces? I'm going to bring it back tomorrow. I just want to look nice. So comes the big question, why do we have to first of all take our hand out to the Egyptians, give us money? It doesn't make us look so good. And it says that we're going to leave Mitzraim berechush gadol, with a great amount of money. What's the money got to do with that? Just be happy that you're out of exile. Just be happy that you're leaving slavery. Why the focus on money? And begs another question. This is what you're thinking about? Can you imagine now the Jews going out of death camps in Germany and Poland, and you think that they were asking their money? They just, let me run out of here. Try to imagine the situation. You're in slavery for 210 years. That's what you care about, money? Just grab your stuff and leave. And there's a lot of commentaries about that A doesn't understand why, but also there's a commentary by the Ibn Ezra who says, what, our fathers were thieves? That's what the Torah is presenting, that we were thieves, basically, because we stole the money and we take the money and run. And which comes to another problem. What, we don't have bitachon that Hashem is going to take care of us? I know we're running to the desert, but what good would the money do in the desert? What, you have a mall in the desert that you need the money there? But Hashem is not going to take care of us there? What, we're going to order stuff on Amazon in the desert? It's going to be shipped into the desert? Well, what do we need money going into the desert? They knew they're going into the desert. So comes another question. What, you don't have enough trust in Hashem that Hashem will take care of you, that you have to take money? Obviously, there's something behind that the Torah is putting the emphasis on it, and we need to find out what's the whole thing here, because we're going out of Mitzrayim too very soon. Now it seems like as if Hashem was doing this act so we have something to start our life with. Can you imagine the thousands of people that went out of work and death camps in Germany and Poland and many other places? They didn't have anything. They literally came with nothing. And like as if Hashem is saying, I'm going to give you something to start your life with. This is not something that will satisfy the curiosity. Now, comes another question here. Why is Hashem making us in problems now with Paro? That we have to, so to say, steal the money. Can't Hashem do it completely different and say to Paro, I am not going to stop Makat Bechorot, I'm not going to stop the death of the firstborn till you give the money. Why don't you throw it on Paro? And say to Paro, one of the conditions that you not only let them go, you let them go with all your money. If not, I'm going to continue bringing more plagues on you. Why do we have to look the bad ones and we have to go and ask for the money? If Hashem wants us to give us something to start our life with, you go and throw it on Paro. Why do we have to ask? Why do we have to look bad here? Not only that, comes another big question. Next week we're going to read that after Paro is running after the nation of the Jews, and they cross the ocean in the miraculous event of the splitting of the sea, then Paro and all his soldiers are drowning in the ocean, and right after that all the carriages and the wagons and everything is washed to the seashore, and they went and started collecting all the gold that was on it and the precious stones, and it's called Bizat Hayam. They went and they took everything for whatever reason. All the chariots of Paro, they were full of rubies and gold and precious diamonds and stones, and it all washed back to the shore, and they went and took it. So as it is, they gained a lot of money. And it says that Bizat Hayam was much, much more than what they took from the Egyptians. It says that they became extremely, extremely wealthy by just collecting what came to the shore. So we see anyways they got money. So why do I have to take more money? And it wasn't even the same amount. Bizat Hayam was much, much more. Tens of times more than what they took out of Mitzraim. So obviously Hashem did take care of us with money. So again, we come to the question, so why do we have to steal from the Egyptians money? Klei kesef and klei zahav, articles of gold and silver, and in a very, tricky way. Now, this forms now an image that the Jew is like hungry money. And this is the reality. This is up until today. Anywhere you're going to go, it looks like that the Jews are hungry money. That they're all the time after the money. And maybe that's where it all started. Now, there are 3 times in the Torah that it's reminding us that we're going to have to take the money from Mitzraim. So it wasn't like a last minute thing that on the way out they're like, oh, wait a minute, let's grab some money. 3 times in the Torah it says that we're going to go out of Mitzrayim with a lot of money. It's like as if Hashem was reminding us over and over about the money. First of all, when do we see that? We see that 430 years prior to being in Egypt, when Avraham Avinu and Kadosh Baruch Hu made a deal in Brit Ben HaBetarim, where Avraham Avinu was told that your offsprings, your generations after you, will go to Mitzrayim, to slavery, v'ya'avdum v'ya'anum 400 shana, and they're going to be slaved and tortured for 400 years, but they will go out of Mitzrayim berechush gadol. They would leave Mitzrayim with great wealth. This was already told to Avraham Avinu 430 years before going into Mitzrayim. That's the first time. On one side we're getting the bad news that we're going to be slaves, but there's a great promise. Don't worry, they'll come out with a lot of money. Like as if that's what Avraham Avinu cares. Why are you taking them to slavery to start with? Who cares about the money? Avraham Avinu had enough money. Yaakov Avinu, Yitzchak, they're all very wealthy. Probably enough money to give over as an inheritance. Why do I need more money? Just save them the slavery. The next time that it was reminded and mentioned in the Torah that we're going to go out with money was in Shmot, in the Parashat Shmot, chapter 3, chapter Gimel, where it says there that when Moshe Rabbeinu, he meets the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Kadosh Baruch Hu tells him, you're going to go to Mitzrayim, you're going to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim and so forth. And what does he tell him? You're not going to come empty-handed, like as if Moshe Rabbeinu really cares if they're coming out with money or not. Moshe Rabbeinu says, what about money? What about money? You think that's what Moshe Rabbeinu said? First of all, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want the job. But after accepted the job, you think Moshe Rabbeinu was negotiating? Listen, they worked there for a long time. How about maybe a compensation, 401k plan, something, give them. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't care about that, but nevertheless, the Torah says that you are not going to go empty-handed. That's what Hashem is telling to Moshe to tell the nation. Who cares about, I'm in slavery right now. You think I care about money? And the third time that this is reminded, this is 2 weeks before leaving Mitzrayim. Again, it says, don't forget, please, I'm reminding you, dear Jews, don't forget to ask money from your neighbors. In 2 weeks, you're going out of exile. Again, the Torah is reminding us, don't forget about the money. This is in chapter 11 in the book of Shmot. Don't forget. That's where it says you're going to go to your neighbors and borrow articles of gold and silver and take money, and that way you make sure that you're going out with a lot of money. Which kind of is funny. You're going out of exile, you're going out of Mitzrayim. When you pack a bag, you put food in there. You don't put gold. What am I going to do with gold in the desert? Now, again, comes the same question. But they're going to get a lot of money after they cross the ocean. Why now they have to ask the money? I mean, it's kind of confusing. They already got 10 times more after crossing the ocean. Why again you're telling them to ask for money? Now comes here another more harsh question. And now we presented one question, what's the idea with the money? And why do you really need it? And why the Torah is so about the money? Now comes even a more hard question to answer. Is forget about the greed, so to say. Let's say there was greed for money. Why are you taking it without giving it back? It doesn't say take it and keep it. It says borrow it. V'sha'ala isha et chaverta. Borrow it. Hashem, are you telling us to be liars? You telling us to be thieves? To be con artists? It doesn't say grab the money and run. It says borrow it from the Egyptians. So forget about the looking at it, there was greed here for money. Okay, let's put the greed aside. Hashem, what are you teaching us here? To be thieves, to be crooks, to cheat, what's the idea behind it? And like I said, it says v'sha'ala isha et chaverta. Borrow it. This is a loan. This is not keeps. It means you have to give it back one way or another. And it says there also that when they left, they didn't say we were going out for good. What did Moshe Rabbeinu kept saying to Paro? We're only going for 3 days. We're coming back. I mean, how many times did Moshe Rabbeinu tell Paro? We didn't say we're leaving, we're running away. We're moving. We just need to go to the desert to sacrifice a few offering to our God, and we're coming back. 3-day vacation. Same thing with the ladies. They told the neighbors, I'm borrowing it, I'm coming back. Why are you telling me to be a thief? Why are you telling me to be a crook? That's what the Torah is teaching me. Is Hashem kind of trying to manipulate it that Yetziat Mitzraim, the going out of Egypt, is about all a lie? And what's going on here? It's very confusing when you're thinking about it. I mean, if you're reading the Parasha and these questions are not coming up to your mind, then what are you doing? Are you just skipping through the lines? You has to think about it. Now, you know what is very interesting, that 1500 years later, after this situation, this is a story still said in the Talmud, in the Tractate Sanhedrin, and it says that 1500 years later, there was a certain individual, Alexander, the great Alexander Mogdon, that came and conquered, half the world. When he came to Israel, to Canaan, he gathered all the ministers of different nations. And at some point he got to the minister, the Egyptian minister, and of course the Jews came up to the picture. And there was I don't know if an Egyptian minister, it says Natsig. Natsig is like a diplomat, a representative of the Egyptian nation. And he told Alexander, we have a problem with these Jews. You know why? Because they took our money 1500 years ago and they never gave it back. And I think they should give it back to us with interest and interest and interest. Oh, now we're going to have a big lawsuit here now with these Egyptians. Now the Jewish communities, what are we going to do now? Now the Egyptians are turning around us that we owe them a 1500-year debt of all the money we took. Oh, we're going to be sued here for billions. What are we going to do? Anyways, there was a certain individual. His name was Gevia ben Psisa, and he was a representative of the Jews. It says that the individual was like a hunchback, and he looked probably not so wise, and maybe also behaved in a way that wasn't, let's call it now, so normal. But nevertheless, he says, let me go and argue. I'll represent the Jews and I will argue. What's the worst case? Worst case is not going to work out. Just tell them, the Jews sent a cuckoo person, and that's why it didn't work out. And he goes there, this Gevia ben Pesisa, and he says in this meeting, oh, you think we owe you money because we never paid it back and 1500 years passed? Let's look at the history. The Jews worked for you for 400 years. 600,000 men worked for you. How about you pay us salaries of 400 years for 600,000 men? I think we're going to see that not only that we're not breaking even, or we're not owing you, you owe us a lot of money. So of course they backed up and they left the argument, and we never heard back from them. You know when we heard back again? About 30, 40 years ago, when they made a peace with Egypt, with I think it was Sadat and not Menachem Begin, whoever it was, I wasn't even born yet, but nevertheless, with Sadat, when they made the peace with Egypt, they also said the same thing, that we owe them a lot of money. So 1500 years ago, 1500 years after Yetziat Mitzraim, it says in the Talmud, Masechet Sanhedrin, page Tzadik Aleph, 91, it says that the Egyptians didn't forget that. You owe us money. 1500 years ago passed. You still owe us money. Now, comes now again another argument. Let's say it's right what this argument that the Jews said. You owe us salary for 400 years. I mean, he said, this individual, Gevia ben Pesisa said, it says in the Torah 400 years. We actually only worked 210 years, but he wanted to exaggerate. He said 400 years because it says in the Torah that we'll work 400 years for Mitzraim. But Let's say that we deserve 210 years plus times the salary of 600,000 men, but why are you doing it in a crooked way? File a lawsuit or whatever. Why you have to steal it back, even if you do think that you deserve it? So comes the question, why would Hashem want it in that situation? What is Hashem trying to tell us here? Now, there are a few ways to explain this idea. One of them, of course, is just a joke, and this is just a joke, that Hashem says, listen, we have a commandment that we're not allowed to go back to Mitzraim. We're not allowed to settle back in Mitzrayim. This is a commandment. We're not allowed to live there. And it was a rumor that we were prohibited also, there was a psak halacha not to ever settle back in Spain. But I heard from somebody that said that Rav Ovadia Yosef said it's not correct, it's not true. But nevertheless, we do know we're not allowed to go back to Mitzrayim, to settle there. So the joke says that Hashem says, how about you take a loan, and if you take a loan, you wouldn't want to give it back, so you'll never go back to Mitzrayim. So leave by taking a loan. But this is, of course, just a joke. But the way to explain this loan part, that we took the money without returning it, is that it's not 100% accurate. Because the Torah says, V'shala isha et chaverta, that the women borrowed the money. But nevertheless, we do find in the scripts many times that the word shala or lish'ol is not necessarily to borrow. I mean, it's proper Hebrew. Lish'ol, I mean, I know it sounds also like to ask a question. But to borrow something is called lish'ol. But we do find in the text, in the Tanakh, many times that she'ela is actually asking to take something, but to keep. Where do we find that? We find it many times in the Tanakh. It says that Hannah asked Hashem for a child. Well, she asked it for a temporary child. Well, just a loan. Give me the child for 3 years and I'll give it back. She asked for a child to keep the child. David HaMelech asked, how many times do we find in the Tanakh the word sha'alti or esh'al, that this is talking about give me. It's one of the words that it's not necessarily to borrow, rather it also means a bakasha, to ask. I'm asking. So maybe the she'elah is not necessarily a loan. Maybe it's just to give. So this is one way to explain the idea of maybe it wasn't a loan, it wasn't a trick here. It says, give me money. Okay, so this is one example, one way of looking at it, that there wasn't a trick here. We weren't tricking the Egyptians. Rather, we were asking them to give us money. Okay. There's another explanation that, you know, that we spoke about it many times, that Hashem likes running the show with midah keneged midah, measure for measure. And we see it in many, many times that everything that Hashem does is that you get what you give. And since the Egyptians conned us, since Paro conned us, then you're getting conned back. This is measure for measure. You tricked us, you conned us, you went against us, you lied to us, so that's what you get back. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. Now, this midah keneged midah, this measure for measure, can be explained is that we create the world that we live in. This is really midah keneged midah. And there's a story to kind of explain the idea, is that there was once a contractor, a builder, and he had a very loyal worker. He worked for him for years and years and years he worked for him. The best worker you can ask. Always honest, always on time, never cheated, did the work. And finally came the age and he was ready to retire. And that was already agreed between the owner of the company and the worker that he gets to this age and he retires. Weeks before the retirement, the owner says, listen, you know, you were such an amazing worker, but you know what, I know you're about to retire, but I got this order for one last project and I really want you to do it. I want you to do it. A few weeks before my retirement. Please, I want you to do it. You are the best man for the situation, for the job. he's already in a mind frame. I'm already retired. He's already smelling the trees and the ocean, and he doesn't want to build it. But nevertheless, he builds it in his last few days. Comes the day of the retirement, and the owner of the company gives him a box. He opens up the box, and in the box there's a pair of keys, and he tells him, the house that you just built, that's for you to keep. That's my present for you for your retirement. So midah keneged midah is that you build the reality of your own. You can build your own reality and recreate the world that we live in. Now, we know that the Egyptians did con us, and they frauded us, and they tricked us. So Hashem wanted to cheat Paro back. He says, listen, you create your own reality. You are a fraud, this is what's going to come back to you. You are honest, this is what's going to come back to you. Now, not only that Paro slaved us, that's one thing. Not only that he used us, that's another thing. But he also conned us. It says that when Paro slaved us, it says, V'avdu ba'parech. What's parech? It's not such a common Hebrew word. You say avodah kasha, hard work. Parech. What's parech? Parech, it's two words. It's pe, rach, soft mouth. Paro tricked them. It was a system. In the beginning, he didn't slave them. He says, this is a country that we're all working. You know, in the beginning, Paro used to pay them per brick. $1 a brick. Really? $1 a brick? They worked 18 hours a day. You're getting $1 a brick? They worked overtime. And then slowly, from $1 a brick, suddenly you're like, oh, I see you can put X amount of bricks per day. From now on, no more $1 per brick. I know you can work 18 hours a day. Now you work for free. But slowly, Paro tricked them with his mouth. First, Paro pretended that he's working. He came out with working clothes and a shovel, and slowly, it went from getting paid to not getting paid. So he conned them with his mouth. That's why it says the word parech. There's not really such a word in Hebrew. Parech. Yeah, parech represents avodah kasha, hard labor. But parech, like I said, it's two words, perach, a soft mouth. He tricked them with his mouth. He conned them. So he created his own reality. And therefore, Hashem says, measure for measure. You did this to the nation of the Jews, they do this back to you. Okay. This is one way of looking at it. You know, David HaMelech says, I mention that all the time in so many situations. There's a chapter in Tehillim, chapter 19. David HaMelech says, Im gvar tamim titamam. If a person is tamim, whole, be whole with him. Im chasid tit chasad. Somebody is gracious and kind, be gracious and kind with him. Be a chasid with him. Aval im ikesh titpatal. Somebody who is stubborn and going with you in a crooked way, then go back with him in the same crooked way. This is the advice David HaMelech gives us, and it's very good advice. So this is one way, another way of looking at it. So we have here, first we said a joke, and this is just a joke, that we take the money, and if we take a loan, that we'll never come back to Mitzraim. But again, this is just the joke of it. The second one that it says, okay, the borrowing is not so precise, rather the borrowing wasn't borrowing, was asking. And then we have another way of explaining it. This was midah keneged midah, measure for measure. You did this to them, they're doing this to you. End the story. Don't spit in the well where you drink from. You throw something negative out to the world, don't think it's not going to come back to you. There's not a punishment. Hashem says, I don't punish. You create your own reality. People say Hashem is mean, he's a tyrant, he's punishing. And I know many can argue and say, but Rambam says there's a sachar and onesh, there's a reward and punishment, there is the use of the word punishment. But Hashem says, I'm not punishing. You create your own reality. You bang your head at the wall right now, don't complain that you have a headache. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. You conned, they conned you back, and the story, deal is sealed. Now, and again, this is just another way of explaining it, but nevertheless, there are many other ways of looking at it. And one thing that you can learn from this is not necessarily the musar, rather, the rebuke that you did this and this is what you're getting. This is something, I'm just saying that as a side note. That's not what we're talking about in this class, but this is another thing to take, to learn from this. Most people, constantly in their life, they're looking for the perfect individual. You ask a person that wants to get married, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for a perfect husband. Are you perfect? I have a business. I'm a business owner. I need a worker. Oh, I need the best worker out. Are you so perfect? Why are we looking all the time for perfection when we are not necessarily perfect? So instead of looking for somebody perfect, why don't you be perfect? So this is just I'm saying as a side note, because this is something you can learn from that. And this is something that we all have a problem with. Especially when you're out for looking for another half, I mean for your husband or wife, your spouse, or a worker, a partner, whatever it is, and kids. We have a lot of complaints towards others. We have high expectations of others. But what about ourselves? Why don't you be that perfect example? And you know what? Maybe that's what's going to come back to you. If you're lazy, if you're a user, if you're a backstabber, what do you think? You're going to get such a princess or a prince, or everything's going to be perfect for you? Who said? So this is just something that, just a side note, to learn that what you give, that's usually what you're going to get. And instead of coming into complaining to others, why don't you look at yourself? I know I'm with you that a lot of times you give a lot of good and you get a stab into your back. But nevertheless, even if you got that stab, there was a reason why you got that stab. But in general, it's not about necessarily looking to, it's very easy to say, I can be probably the first one that can say, yeah, usually when you give, you get a stab to your back. But it doesn't mean you have to stop giving. But nevertheless, the way of looking at it is not that if I will give you, maybe you'll stab me in my back and go against me, and then it will stop me from giving. Rather saying, instead of coming to complaints about others, it's very easy to look around and to complain to everybody. Rather, turn the vision to yourself and say, I don't want to complain now about everybody. It's very easy. I can come now with a list of complaints of almost anybody. But is that what Hashem wants me to do? No, Hashem says, turn the mirror around to you, start complaining about yourself. But again, this is just a side note, just to take from that, because I just mentioned that the Kadosh Baruch Hu trying to show us here measure for measure. Okay, but nevertheless, okay, we kind of covered that area. But comes the question that I said before: why does Hashem want us to look like cheats and thieves? I understand that Hashem wanted to do measure for measure. They conned us, we conned them. It wasn't really alone. It was asking. But why does Hashem make us look like thieves or cheats or con artists? That's what it says in the Torah. Very simple. I mean, it's not a commentary. It says in the Torah. Anybody who would read the Torah would say, whoa, well, look at these Jews. They stole money from the Egyptians. They told them they're going out for a few days. They never came back. They knew they're not coming back. That's conning. Why does Hashem make me look like a con? Us. So there are two ways of looking at it. Two explanations. The first one, I will tell a story that I heard, and the second one is a little bit more deeper. The first explanation of this idea, why does Hashem kind of making us look like con artists? So the story that I heard, I'm sure you're familiar, there are many different Hasidic groups, some of them are more familiar, some of them are less familiar, but there is a Hasidic group that is called Vishnitz. And they have a great leader, a rabbi. Usually in the Hasidic groups there's a admor, a rabbi that leads the group. So the group of Vishnitz, their admor, their Rebbe, one time is going out of shul. He's finishing praying the morning prayer. And he, usually the Rebbe walks around with a few secretaries, and he's walking around with his gabbai, and they're walking in the street, and they pass next to a big jewelry store, and the Rebbe says, I'm going to go in, I need to buy something for my wife. Okay. The Rebbe walks into the jewelry store. Ooh, what an honor. You know what it is? The Admor coming into the jewelry store, and he says to the store owner, I want to buy a beautiful watch for my wife. Ooh, this is not only a good business, but also publicity. The Rebbe's wife, the Rebbetzin, is wearing the clock that store sold. Okay, person pulls out all these beautiful watches and he's looking, and at some point the Rebbe says to the store owner, listen, I'm not so big knowledgeable in clocks and watches. I don't know, maybe there's a woman in the store that can help me choose. I don't know how to choose a nice watch for my wife. So the store owner says, yeah, my wife is here. She works with me, but this is an observant neighborhood. This is a true story, by the way. I'm not making it up. So he says, my wife, for modesty, she didn't want to talk to you. You are the Rebbe. She moved aside. She's in the back. So the Rebbe says, no, bring her out. I want her to help me choose a watch for my wife. Okay, she comes out all excited. She starts pulling out all these watches, and finally she pulls this beautiful watch, and she says, you know what, take this. Your wife would love it. It's very regal, very royal. She would love it. Okay, pack it up, take the clock, take the watch. Okay, finishing the transaction, it goes out of the store, and it pays, of course. And the Gabbai, the helper of the Rebbe, tells him, what is this all about? Your wife's birthday was 2 months ago and you already got her a jewelry. Again, you're getting her a watch. What's going on here? So the Rebbe tells him, listen, a few days ago, I passed through this store and I heard the husband, the store owner, screaming at his wife, look at you, you're not helping in the business. Weeks have passed, you didn't even sold anything. You just did this, you're that. And he humiliated her. And he was very upset at her. You're not helping at all here. What are you doing here all day long? I brought you to help me. And he was really, being very not nice to her. He says, I couldn't sleep for a couple of days. The shlom bayit, there's no peace there. The husband is upset at the wife. She's very upset. She's hurt. You know how hurt she must be that the husband is accusing her for using him, for not doing anything, for not contributing in the business. He says, I couldn't sleep for a couple of days. And I said, what can I do to fix it? So he says, you know what I did? I went and bought the most expensive watch. And who sold it? She sold it, not him. So she can get her pride back. Here, my dear husband, you said that I'm not doing anything in the store. You said that I'm not pulling my weight, that I'm not selling anything. Here, I sold the watch to the Rebbe, an expensive one. He says, I wanted to bring her back her dignity, back her respect and honor. Her husband made her this big. And this is what we want to take from that as the first explanation. The Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care about the money. He says it's not about the money. I gave you money after you crossed the ocean, much more than that. Hashem wanted to give us back our dignity. For 210 years we were slaved, we were tortured. They did whatever they wanted with us. We went out of Egypt like shmates. Look how we went out of Auschwitz and many other camps 7 years ago. Like, with nothing. Hashem says, I don't care about the money. Hashem wanted to give us back our dignity. Walk out with some pride. After you were trashed and smashed and used. So, it says, very interestingly, there's a place in the Talmud, in Tractate Brachot. You can find it in page number 9, that it says, Daber na be'oznei ha'am, speak, please speak in the ears of the nation, she'yishalu kesef, that they should borrow money and gold. The Talmud says there, why is he using the word na? The words in Hebrew, Daber na be'oznei ha'am, please talk in the ears of the nation. Why is he saying na? Why is he saying please? Just say, tell them. The Talmud says na means bakasha, to request, to ask. The Talmud explains here something very, very interesting. Hashem says, I have promised Avraham Avinu they're going to go out with money. What's going to happen if they don't go out with money? The tzaddik, Avraham Avinu, is going to come and start complaining. You promised them to go out with money. I have to fulfill the promise that I told Avraham Avinu. Please, Moshe, please make sure you're telling them to ask money, because if they're not going to ask money, Avraham Avinu is going to come and complain to me. Well, What's the connection? That's what it says in the Talmud. What's the connection now? Well, you think Avraham Avinu cares? You think Avraham Avinu is going to call to Hashem and says, whoa, Mr. God, you promised me hundreds of years ago that they're going to go out to from Mitzraim with money. You think Avraham Avinu cares? Just as long as they're out, who cares? You think Avraham Avinu, that's what he cares? And let's say Avraham Avinu does care. Let's say, let's say Avraham Avinu says to Hashem, I don't care. What, Hashem made a promise? He doesn't have to pay up to the promise? Why does Hashem care what Avraham Avinu thinks? Hashem should say, I promised, I have to fulfill. Now you're throwing it on Avraham Avinu. What did Avraham Avinu going to say? That's not what Hashem was thinking about. Hashem is saying, I now have to worry about what Avraham Avinu says. Hashem promised He's going to take us out of Mitzraim with a lot of money. And here is lying down the message behind that, is that Avraham Avinu was our father, is our father. A healthy father is usually a father that likes to have pride in the kid, and he wants to take care of the child and to make sure that the child is comfortable. And Avraham Avinu would come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, why didn't you take them out of Egypt with some dignity and some respect? It's not about the money. You made them this big, you crushed their honor. At least get them out of Mitzrayim with some dignity. Now, this is the first way of looking at it, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, I know I crushed you in Egypt, but don't forget that you have some honor and dignity. Don't go out of Mitzrayim like slaves. Go on with some honor, some respect. Now, the way of looking at it, it's very easy to give money. Kadosh Baruch Hu could give them checks right away, but it's very hard to give respect, honor, and dignity. Sometimes you see with marital problems between the husband and wife that one is complaining, why? Because my spouse is not respecting me. He's not giving me enough respect. He's disrespecting me. Many husbands, they give their wife, here's a credit card, go buy yourself whatever you want. I don't want your credit card. I want you to just tell me that I look good today. I want you to treat me nice. I want you to take me out to dinner and spend some time with me. There was a famous story. I don't remember all the details. I'm just going to say it as a general story, so you're not going to catch me in a detail. But there was a very famous businessman in the United States. He was a very big lawyer. I don't remember all the details. Like I said, I'm just going to say it as a general story. But very, very wealthy and very busy, of course. And one time, his son came to him and told him, Dad, how much do you make an hour? What do you care what I make? I make a lot of money. And the son tells him, Dad, how much money do you make an hour? He says $500. So the son tells him, can you lend me $500? Father says, lend you $500? You're a little kid. How are you going to pay me back? He says, don't worry, I'll find a job. Can you lend me $500? Father says, of course. Pulls out a big stash of cash from his pocket, counts 5 bills, give the boys $500, says, here, my boy, here, I'm lending you $500. So the boy holds the $500 and tells his father, this is my $500, right? He says, yeah, till you pay me back. The kid takes the $500, gives it to his father and says, here's $500. Can you give me an hour? Can you be with me for 1 hour? So it's very easy to give money, but to give time and consideration and respect and honor, that's very hard. And that's the problem with most people. It's very easy to brush off an individual. In our generation, kids are bribed. Here, take an iPhone. Take an iPad. How many parents sits with the kid on the floor? Here, let's play. With Lego, with cubes, whatever. Here, take an iPad, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, I have a lot what to do. It's very easy to give money. Whether it's the kids, whether it's a spouse. So Hashem says, I can give you money, I can give you as much money as I want. But to give somebody back some dignity, some respect, some honor, sometimes some consideration, that's not so easy. So Hashem is trying to teach me here, it's not about the money. It's Hashem says, I will give you back your dignity. I'm going to give you some respect, some honor. So one way of looking at it is not to look at the greed here, or the trickery, or the being fraudulent, is that we have to take from that as, you have to look in your life, are you bribing somebody? Are you brushing off somebody? You know, you have to earn respect. You have to give people some time, whether it's your spouse, your kids, and so forth. But this is one example, one way of explaining this. And we'll summarize it that Hashem is not caring about the money here. Hashem is not trying to show us as the frauds. Hashem just wanted to give us back our honor, back our dignity. And the point to learn from that is that it's much easier to give out money. It's much harder to give respect and honor. And this is one lesson to take out of that. The second explanation, the second lesson to take out of that is a little bit more on the mystical side, or more on the Kabbalistic side of things, is that based on the teachings of Kabbalah, for Jews, to make money is a mitzvah. We have to make money. 6 yamim ta'avod ve'asita kol melachtecha. 6 days a week you work and you make money. For us, it's a mitzvah to make money. And we have to make money. You know how many mitzvot we have with money? After I make my money, I have to pay 10% of it. I have to give charity. I have to do a lot of things with my money. For me, as a Jew, it's a mitzvah to go and make money. I have to make money. I can't just sit there and do nothing all day long. Now, I'm going to tell you again another story. This story is said about a very famous rabbi, one of the greatest figures in the Ashkenaz lineage. He's known as the Maharam from Rothenburg, Rabbi Meir. And he was one of the pillars in the halacha teachings, especially in the sect of Ashkenaz. He was one of the last of the Baalei Tosfot. You know, when you learn the Talmud, if you ever looked at a Talmud, there's the Talmud in the middle, and on the one side is the commentary of Rashi, and on the other side is the Tosfot. Tosfot is a collection of different questions and commentaries that were gathered for many years by the grandkids of Rashi and many others, and the Maharam from Rothenburg is one of them. Great scholar, a pillar of halakha. And the story with him, that at some point he was ran after them, in the Germans at the time, they went against him, running after him, so he ran away. And he ran away, he wanted to go to Eretz Israel, and he went through Italy. And in Italy he was somehow stopped and arrested, and he was thrown into jail. And they said at the time the only way that they will let him out is for a bail of 20,000 marks, which was, I don't know how to compare it to in our currency, it will probably be like, I don't know, like $400 million. Just something not normal. And there's not a chance that you can get that type of money. Nevertheless, he had a very great student, and known as the Rosh, Rabbi Asher ben Yechiel. Again, another great scholar, very, very famous Talmudic rabbi, who was the student of the Maharam from Rothenburg. And he says, I'm going to do whatever I can to get this money, to get my Rebbe out of jail. And he went from one community to another community to another community, and you know what? At some point he gathered the money. Somehow he got the money. When the Maharam from Rothenburg found out that they have the money and he's about to be released, he says, I don't want you to give them the money. Rebbe, we got you the money. We're going to get you out of here. He says, I don't want you to pay the ransom. I don't want you to pay the bail. You know why? Because they're going to now start doing it to everybody. They're going to start arresting all of us and asking for all that. I don't want you to pay me out. Leave me here. Tell them, but you're going to die in jail. I don't care. Just don't give them the money. Okay, sure enough, 7 years passed and he died in jail. And the owner of the jail, not the owner of the jail, but the governor at the time, didn't even want to give out the body. The body was just left in the jail there. rotting there, never got a burial. Many years passed, and the body is still thrown there in jail, didn't receive a proper burial. And you're talking here about the Maharam from Rothenberg. This is a very great soul, not getting a right burial. You know what it is for the soul, what a punishment. Came a certain individual many years later. His name is Alexander Winfen. Maybe I'm pronouncing the word wrong. He was a very wealthy individual, and he gave almost all of his fortune to get the body out, so they can bury the body. And sure enough, if you go to the graveyard, I mean, you can go to the grave of the Maharam from Rothenberg. Right next to it is another grave, and it says there, the Gvir, Alexander Winfen. He's buried right next to him. The story says that right after he got him out, he gave almost all of his fortune to get the body, just the body. The story says that the Maharam from Rothenberg came to this Alexander in his dream and told him, thank you. You did the greatest chesed with me, the greatest kindness with me. You know what it is to bury, to give a proper burial? And he says, I want to reward you for what you did. This unbelievable kindness. I'm going to give you two options to choose from. The first option is that you and all your generations are always going to be extremely, extremely wealthy. You, your kids, your grandkids, all the way, hundreds of generations, you're going to be mega millionaires. Or that you give up all your wealth, but you sit with me in Gan Eden. Needless to say, this wealthy individual, Alexander, says, I give up everything. And sure enough, a few days later, he died. And needless to say, sitting with him in Gan Eden, they're also buried right next to each other. Now, many years have passed, and a certain individual, maybe you're familiar with his name is Hillel from Parich. He was a student of the Tzemach Tzedek. And he heard this story. And he says, if this Alexander would live after the revelation of the movement of Chassidut, he would choose option number one. What? Choosing option number one to be a millionaire and all generations to be millionaires? Yes! After the movement of Chassidut, about 300 years ago, if he would live now, he would choose the money, not to sit in Gan Eden. Not to sit in Gan Eden? How can you say such a thing? He says, this is what Rabbi Hillel from Parich says, you know what it means for one time for a Jew to put tefillin on? Whew. You know what it means for one time for a Jew to do a mitzvah? That's 10 times more of enjoying anything in Gan Eden. And he says, you enjoying yourself in Gan Eden right now. But how about Hashem? Is Hashem enjoying that you are in Gan Eden? Can you imagine how much joy Hashem would get if many Jews would put tefillin on? How much joy Hashem would get if many Jews would eat a matzah? Or many Jews would do many, many mitzvot? You know how many mitzvot you can do with so much money? The money was given to us to do mitzvot. Who cares if you want to enjoy yourself in Gan Eden? How about Hashem? Why aren't you thinking about Hashem? Don't you think Hashem needs to enjoy himself seeing so many Jews doing mitzvot down here? You know how much mitzvot we can buy with money? You know what we can do with money? You think we want to buy Rolls Royces and Bentleys with money? No! We want to buy Torah scrolls and Torah books and tefillin and meals for Shabbat and how many mitzvot we can do with money. You think the money we have here a lust for money? And he says, you know why a Jew has to make money? To overpower his desire for greed and to money and to buy a beautiful car and to do tzedakah with it. That's why for all generations, you see the Jews are very good with money. Why? Because Hashem says, I'm going to give you a lot of money. So you're not going to buy yourself a nice car or another beautiful vacation in Costa Rica for $25,000 and enjoy a cruise. Take that money and do tzedakah with it. It's very tempting when you have a lot of money to say, you know, what's so bad in driving a nice car? Somebody sent me a message a few weeks ago, not even, maybe a week or two ago, a good friend. And he told me, is it a mitzvah to serve Hashem b'simcha? Right? Yeah, of course I answer him. Of course you have to serve Hashem b'simcha. He says, but what happens if driving a Mercedes causes me to be b'simcha? You know, driving like with my nice Mercedes, it's a lot of simcha, no? Is that a good way? Maybe I should buy myself a nice car. It's going to make me very happy to drive to shul with a Mercedes. I told him that's fake simcha. This is not the real simcha. That's the Yetzer Hara trying to corner you that, yeah, buy a nice Mercedes for $80,000 and you're going to be happy with very nice leather seats. But that's real simcha. You know, it's not real simcha because in a month a new model will come out and your neighbor's going to buy the new model and you don't have the latest model anymore. So you lost your simcha for a piece of metal. I told him that's not real simcha. That's not serving Hashem b'simcha. That's frauding yourself. So Hashem says you have to make money and you're going to make money only so you can fight this desire or to live a life of wealth. Now take this money and do charity with it. So, the Gemara, in two different places, in Masechet Sotah and Masechet Chulin, it gives a story there. And I'll tell you again another story so we can get to the point. If you remember, not too long ago, we read the story about Yaakov Avinu going out of Haran. He takes all his wealth. He was a gazillionaire. And he's about to cross he crosses the river and he's about to meet Esav, his brother, and he finds out that Esav is coming with 400 mercenaries, 400 men coming to settle the debt. And you remember the whole story. He prepared prayer, he prepared for war, he prepared a present that was worth a lot of money. But then if you remember the story, that he remembers that he forgot a few cans of oil. And he makes a U-turn, he crosses the river back, Ma'abar Yavok, and he meets the angel of Esav who fights with him all night. Then he blemishes his leg, he's limping for the rest of his life. And all that for what? For a few pitchers of oil? The Talmud, in Masechet Sotah and Chulin, it says to Yaakov, who gives you permission to do such a thing? You're jeopardizing your own body, which will jeopardize the life of your wives. You have 4 wives and 11 kids, and you have a lot of money. Why are you going back for a few tins of oil? The Talmud is kind of questioning Yaakov. Why did you go back? The Talmud answers, tzaddikim, righteous individuals, mamonam chaviv aleim yoter migufam. Their possession, their money is more important to them than their body. What? That's what the Talmud is telling me what Yaakov went back to bring the pitchers of oil. Comes another story in the Talmud that says the same thing. We just read last week that Moshe Rabbeinu was born. His mother puts him in a little basket and puts him in the Yeor. Why are you putting him? She built a tevat gome. Gome is like bamboo. You're building a box of bamboo? Build a box of gold. This is Moshe Rabbeinu. Why are you building it from cheap bamboo? Get an artist, make something fancy. Put a nice symbol in the front, like an RR in the front, a Rolls Royce teva. What are you doing? Some straw and bamboo? Tzadikim, mamonam chaviv aleim yasher gufam. She says, no, why should I spend so much money? I'll take the money and do something else. Moshe Rabbeinu, he'll be fine in a box of bamboo. Why does he need a Rolls Royce? I'll take that money that I have and I'll give charity with it. So what is behind it? What is hidden in this message? That based on the teachings of Kabbalah, we are here in this world to connect the spiritual and the physical. That's why we're here. We're not here for anything else. We are here, especially after Matan Torah, after the giving of the Torah, that we have to take something physical and connect it to something spiritual. That's what we're here for. Now we left Mitzraim, and if we go back to the beginning of the story, before we leaving Mitzrayim, it says right in the beginning of the Torah, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. In the beginning, Hashem created the heavens and the earth. And then it says something very interesting. Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. And the Spirit of God is hovering over the water. What is this merachefet mean? Merachefet means to hover, to glide over. Why is the Torah starting the Torah by telling me that the Spirit of God is hovering over the water? Merachefet, the word merachefet, gliding over or hovering over, is two words. Rapach, met. Rapach is a number, and met means dead, died. Rapach is 288. 288 godly sparks fell into the physical world when the world was created. Before this world was created, there were other worlds. Now we don't have the time now to explain what preceded this world, but we do know that before this world existed, there was another world. And there was too much godly light there. There wasn't enough vessels to hold the light, and there was a concept that we know based on the teachings of Kabbalah that's called Shvirat HaKelim, the breaking of the vessels. All this light got shattered all around the universe, and 288 godly sparks fell into this world. 288 is Rapach, Reish Pei Chet. Merachefet is Rapach Met. This is the world of death. In the worlds above there's no death, only in this world there's death. 288 godly sparks fell into this world. We came down into the world now elevate these sparks. We came out of Mitzraim with 202 sparks. Where do we know that? Ve'erev Rav ala imahem. When we went out of Mitzrayim, it says that a mob, Erev Rav, went out with us. Rav is the numerical value of 202, Reish and Bet. After 210 years in Egypt, we went down to Egypt because the majority of the godly spark fell into Mitzrayim. So we had to go into Mitzrayim to sift through the dirt, through the darkness, to elevate these sparks and to take them out of Mitzrayim. So we went out with 202 sparks from the 288. So we're missing 86 godly sparks. The numerical value of the name Elokim. Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. So we had to take these sparks and elevate them to Kedusha. Now what did we do when we left out of Mitzrayim? Why did we need so much money? You know what they did with the money that they took out of Mitzrayim? They built a Mishkan. They built a tabernacle of gold and silver and copper and beautiful stones. Now yes, I know can be an argument. Some can argue and say, but some of it was used for the golden calf. Okay, I agree. But nevertheless, all this wealth was used to build the tabernacle. They didn't have Bentleys in the desert. And they didn't have anything in the desert. They didn't need the money. Everything that they took was only to build a tabernacle, a mishkan, a dwelling place for Hashem, a base for Judaism, for receiving the Torah. So they had to take money out of Mitzrayim, not for their own personal gain, for elevating it into Kedusha, to taking these godly sparks that fell into Mitzrayim. 202 sparks they already took out of Mitzrayim. But they took all their wealth, all their money, not for themselves. They could have said, you know what, let's just keep the money. Let's go into the land of Israel. We'll buy some property. We'll sit there, just enjoy the interest. But they took the money and they built a Mishkan to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's really the reason why they went out of Mitzrayim with money, is because they needed to elevate these sparks. And this is what we need to learn from that my belongings, there are sparks, godly sparks in them that I have to elevate them. I have to do a tikkun for them, a rectification. Whatever God gave me. It can be money, it can be a possession, a house, a car, a phone, whatever it is. Every physical article that you own is because there is some type of godly spark that you need to take it and use it for Kedusha, for holiness. If it's money, then you have to use the money for Kedusha. Hashem gave you a smartphone not to play games on it, not to slander other people on social media, to take that phone and to spread Torah, to help people with that device. Everything that Hashem gave us can be used for good or for bad. Look at the internet. The internet can be destructive, destroying, malicious. But you can take the internet. Look what good you can do with it. Look how much Torah is spread on the internet. Look how much positive things you can do with the internet. So everything that Hashem gave me, you, and everybody is not for my benefit, is to use it, to elevate it for something spiritual, to something holy, to take something physical and to connect it with something spiritual. That's why we are in a physical world. There's much more to it. And it's definitely not the time now to explain the idea, the concept, but the idea is that everything physical that Hashem gave us, to do a tikkun with it, to rectify it, to take it and to transform it into something spiritual. Hashem says, take the Egyptian money that was about to be used for idolatry and many bad things and transform it. Build me a home. Build me a tabernacle. Make something spiritual with it. Take the physical thing, take the physicality and turn it into spirituality. There's a beautiful lesson that was taught by the Maggid from Mazrij. He's the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. And he says, how can it be that not all of us like the same things? But at the same time, each and every one of us likes certain things. You like vanilla ice cream, you like chocolate cakes, you like beautiful clothes, you like beautiful cars. Everybody likes something. Why we like something and how come we don't like the same things? How come you like vanilla chocolate and I like chocolate, strawberry? We both like the same chocolate, but different tastes. The reason why we don't like the same things, and the reason why we like things to start with, because in everything there's a godly spark that is connected to the root of my soul. So everything that I like in this world, why do I like it? Why am I drawn to it? Because inside of it there's a godly spark that is connected to me, some pull to it. Why are you attracted to your other half? Because you share a spark there. I don't know if you noticed, but in most cases in marriages you are attracted to the other half in the beginning. 2 weeks after the wedding, this is what I married. What did I see in you 30 years ago? Well, you saw a spark that belongs to you. Now, people think that marriage is about holding hands and watching movies and romance. That's not marriage, by the way. Marriage is not walking into the horizon with hearts around you. Marriage is hard work. It's to refine yourself. It's to work on yourself. So, but in the beginning there's a spark. Why? You see something that belongs to you. Why are you drawn to anything? Because in that physical thing, it can be a cake, it can be a car, it can be anything. It can be even a color, a pigment. Why do you like blue and you like purple? There's a godly spark in everything that exists in this world, and you are drawn to the spark that has a connection to your soul, to the root of your soul. So that's why you like it. So you can be drawn to it, and then you elevate it. Whatever it is, food, money, anything. A Jew has to rectify as many things in the physical world. Anything that is physical in your world is not for your own benefit and for your own desire or lust, is only to do a tikkun with it. Hashem gave you a lot of money, it's to give it to charity. It's to help people with it. To do a lot of good things with it. Hashem gave you a good brain, it's not for you to sit with yourself and make the next startup. It's to teach Torah, it's to inspire people, to teach people. And everything physical that Hashem gave you is for us to elevate it. Hashem gave you a car, then do charity with it. Drive people to their doctor appointment. I don't know what. Serve food with it. Whatever it is. You use your imagination. Whatever Hashem gave it to you is for you to do something. Hashem gave you a talent. You use this talent not for your benefit, for somebody else's benefit. So the whole idea of why to take the money out of Mitzraim, is Hashem says this money didn't belong to them even. It doesn't belong to them and it doesn't belong to you. I'm just telling you to take it out. So you can take it and build a tabernacle in the desert to bring kedusha, spirituality into the world. So the teachings behind this whole idea as all the things that I said to give us back our pride, our dignity, our honor, and so forth, and all these things that we just explained. But more than that, we like to look at the inner things, inner part of everything. As Hashem says, you take it. I'm now transferring the possession between the Egyptians to you, but take it to do something holy with it. And that's what we want to learn from that. That everything that Hashem gave it to me, I have to make an analysis. Why did Hashem give it to me? Why did Hashem give me right now money? Why did Hashem give me a big house? Why did Hashem give me a firm, a job, a company? To do something with it. It's not for you to satisfy your own needs. It's to take it and do something positive, mainly to take it and elevate it to something spiritual. You use your imagination, how you're transforming the physicality in your world, your materialism in the world, into spiritual. I've mentioned a few weeks ago that when they left Mitzraim, 80% of Bnei Israel, of the nation of the Jews, did not leave Mitzraim. You know why? They were too much holding on their materialism. Moshe Rabbeinu says, we're going to the desert. Is there Wi-Fi there? No, there's no Wi-Fi in the desert. No, I'm not. No. I'm staying in Mitzrayim with my iPhone where there's Wi-Fi. You go to the desert. They didn't want to leave their materialism. The same thing now when Mashiach is going to come. Many will not survive. All the sources say that 2/3 of the world will not survive. Because nobody wants to let go of their materialism. You're stuck in materialism, you'll never be redeemed. You'll never go out of exile. The whole point of Yetziat Mitzrayim is leaving materialism. Now it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a job. It doesn't mean you shouldn't make money. But instead of buying with all the money that you have a Mercedes, take this money and feed a lot of people. So you can be active in materialism, but don't hold the materialism for your own satisfaction. Let go of the materialism. I don't need all this money. I can buy now a beautiful car with this X amount of money, and I can take this amount of money and I can feed hundreds of people. I can help dozens of families in need. You know how much good and kindness I can do? Like Hillel from Parashat says, you know how many tefillin you can buy? You thinking of your Gan Eden, your satisfaction? Think about Hashem. Think how much good you can do with money. You know how many people I know that have so much money, all their money is going to charity. Just the other day I met a friend, we bumped into each other on the way out of the mikveh, we started reminiscing where we met. He told me, oh, I met you first time when you came to speak in that shul over there in New York. Now, oh yeah, I remember when I met you there. And he says, do you know I don't want to say the name of the shul, it shouldn't be a Lashon Hara, but he says, do you know him? I says, no, I didn't even know it's a person. I thought it's just the name of the shul. He says, ooh, this person, let me tell you the story about this person. A very great tzaddik in our generation called him and he told him, I need you to do fundraising for me. And he says, me? Fundraising? I don't know how to fundraise. He says, I will give you a blessing that you'll do good, you'll be successful. I want you to fundraise for my institutes. And this individual says, you know what? The tzaddik is telling me to fundraise for his institutes. He tells him, I want you to give me a blessing to be a billionaire. He says, you have a blessing. Now go and fundraise. No. I want to be super rich. I want you to give me the blessing. This is a true story. I don't want to mention names, so Chas v'Shalom should not be Lashon Hara here. But nevertheless, even if you talk positive things about somebody, it's Lashon Hara. Nevertheless, he says, no. I want you to give me a bracha. I want to be mega wealthy. And I want you to say, he says, I'm giving you the bracha. Just, no. I want you to say it with your mouth. I want you to say it with words. I want you to promise me. The tzaddik tells him, what do you want to do with all this money that you want the bracha? He says, I want to do so much chesed. He says, I will give you the bracha to be a multi-millionaire in the condition that you only do kindness with it. This individual became a multi-millionaire. He's a billionaire. And this individual, all that he does with his money is just chesed. Just this is one of the individuals, you maybe heard the name. He flies hundreds, if not thousands of people to Oman every year in Rosh Hashanah. He's one of the ones who feeds all the people there. You know how many people are there? How many food is given there? He's one of the people. He's actually there giving out the food. And many, many things. This is just one of the many things that he does. Where I spoke was a very big shul where they have a koilel 24 hours a day, people are learning Torah there. The person is just doing chesed with his money. He doesn't even take anything for himself. The guy in Uman himself is serving food. Because he wants to be involved in it. And why am I telling you that? Because Hashem gives us a lot of money to do kindness with it. To greaten Hashem's name in the world. To make people do mitzvot. To bring spiritual into the physical life. And this is one of the many, but the most profound message of this part of the Torah portion is Hashem said, take the money from Mitzraim. It doesn't even belong to them. You're not cheating them, you're not conning them. I want you to take that money and transform it into something spiritual. And the message we want to take from that is that everything physical that Hashem gave you, even if it's not millions of dollars, He gave you a car, use it for something positive. He gave you a job, He gave you a business, whatever Hashem gave you, talent, money, whatever it is, you use it to connect the physical and the spiritual, to elevate the physical, the physicality of the world into the spiritual part of the universe. And sometimes it's by just giving over your grasp on materialism. So Yetziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, that's where we commemorate every day, constantly in all their praise, is going out of holding into materialism. You want to be free, you want to be not bound to any type of slavery, mental, emotional, physical. You want to be part of the redemption, is you let go of the physicality. You let go of anything that is material in this world. You use the materialism of the world. I'm not telling you not to. Make it, but use it for something spiritual rather than use it for your own benefit in the physical world.